Welcome back, everybody, to APAC North. It's our final matchup of Day 1 of Stage 3, 2022 season. Sandbox Gaming go up against Reject, Korea versus Japan. As I said before, APAC North is just Korea versus Japan. Welcome back to the desk. I'm Alex the Medic. And this is Fresh and Demo, yes?
I can feel Hap like he's seething over on the caster desk because you're not technically correct there, are you? APAC North is not just Korea versus Japan. It's Korea versus Korea, Japan versus Japan, and Korea versus Japan. Sometimes Japan versus Korea, and then usually Korea wins.
That sounds exactly like
And then
something.
Elevate ends up being the best team out of a lot of them.
Exactly.
That's true. But that's why I said APAC North. If we're being pedantic, because we're putting Happen here, which, you know, if there's English people and he's English.
No.
No.
Isn't that what Veli said?
No.
He's swamp German.
Yeah, that's so true.
Fair enough.
He just looked up at me with not a nice look.
Yeah, anyways, let's talk about our two teams here. Sandbox Gaming, what do they have to offer, Fresh?
Sandbox Gaming are the team that will probably steamroll their way through all of the opposition, maybe barring Damwon Kia and Cyclops this stage. They are that good. They are that team of superstars. They've picked up, you know, they picked up Good Boy, they picked up Arakaze. There really isn't a bad player in this team. I don't know if that's a strength or a weakness at times, but like you say, Milosh, then they go internationally, and then we see what happened. That's when we saw what happened in Berlin, where, again, unfortunately for them, they got grouped. And that really is the challenge. APAC North for them, not a challenge. International events, massive challenge. And they just sit in this void in the middle. And they just exist in this void in the middle. And that's been their problem, and possibly will continue to be the problem. And it's a very hard problem to solve.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the kind of results on international stages, was kind of what now we're really starting to nitpick, I think, with Sandbox is, you know, you managed to make it into the quarterfinals, which was probably their best showing alongside Damwon Kia. You know, it was a great event just for APAC as a whole. And then immediately an invitational, not even, you know, Eminem was beating them, for goodness sake, and Eminem were as a team for like 6 months. So what does that say about the pedigree of this team? And then obviously we've seen them at Berlin, just another group stage. So it does feel as if this side, and even, you know, this team, like the origin of this team dates back, you know, all the way back to like Paris Major, for goodness sake. And even then they were still getting grouped.
Before that.
They've always been a side that just feels as if they're just there to be there. And that's what I want to see from Sandbox, is to break that barrier.
I'll do you one better. Mantis at PS 2017, the very first time APAC was allowed to compete. It was Pro League Finals in Sao Paulo, and that was the PowerPoint Pro League Finals for those that remember.
Taylor's always been there.
Oh, yeah, I remember the internet. Yeah,
I remember it.
I remember it.
I was on fire at that venue. That is currently where Brazil holds their usual shows. So there you go. Anyways, let's move on to Reject on the other side. Ooh. What can they show? Because honestly, I felt last stage they had a lot of potential. There's
a lot of people excited to watch this team, Milosh, me included. The reason being is Reject, you know, if you don't know the storyline, I'm just going to very quickly recap it for everybody. We will talk about it. Beat Sengoku, got themselves up into this league in APAC North at the start of the year. Stage 1 didn't look good because they only had one way of playing, which was forwards, no matter what happened. And teams took advantage of that and blew them off it. Stage 2, they became a little bit more flexible, gave themselves a little bit more substance, really caught some teams off, was in contention for the top 2, fell off at the end. And I think stage 3, it's another stage of building for them.
Yeah, I think as well, it's the kind of same storyline that we talked about with Talon, where this is a team that certainly can compete for those top 2 spots and try and compete for an SI spot. And these are where I think the matches that matter the most, because Sandbox are going to be big competition. You know, KAG's going to be competition. Damwon Kia is going to be the big competition that I think Rejects and Talon, they need to take them down, because not only are you gaining points, but also, you know, taking points off your opposition. So I think today is crucial for this side to get off to a good start and take points away from, you know, obviously one of their competitions.
Our map for this series, which one will it be? 8 out, 1 left, 9 map pool total. I always repeat myself. I feel like a broken record. Clubhouse, we'll see it again today. Reject picking the map, and that means Sandbox opting for defense start. Jack?
Both teams have quite good history on this map, but not played it very much. Reject and Sandbox both played it one time this year. For Sandbox, it's like their 8th preference map. For Reject, it's up there and it's high up. One thing about Reject is they love redefining how the game is played and redefining the meta, trying to be new, innovative. That's hard on Clubhouse, but they still try to do it quite a lot. They did like a 4 shotgun strategy the last time they played it, all focused around main stairs. So watch out for their innovation.
This team's right up my alley. Right up my alley, because this is like a, you know, workshop that I'm
you have a really wide alley if you have KAG already in there. Like.
FaZe Clan's in there, don't forget about FaZe
Angie too.
Yeah.
And Eminem. And any team from the UK. Navi.
Hell of an alley.
Hey,
it's a big alley demo.
I support everyone except the French. So Clubhouse, I think, as a general whole, I think the general... Obviously, we mentioned Wolves and BDS. Not production. Don't get it twisted, production.
Fired.
We're in France.
Don't get it twisted. Just the French teams.
Dema. The guy that hires you is French. Do you want to backtrack on that?
Reconsider.
Backtrack.
Well, I don't like the French team. No, I'm sticking that. British and proud.
All right, on that note, thank you very much. He's very British, as you can definitely tell. Demo fresh, let's toss it then to our caster. Sandbox and Reject, take it away. Happening.
Well, you know he's not coming back after this game. I just heard that producer say we'll talk about it later. So, you know what? Before we do that, we have another game to get through. The last one of today is going to be Sandbox up against Reject. We've just had the preface off the desk to see where this will go.
Do you think we'll have another Nook ban? That is 5 of 5 for EU, currently 3 of 3 for APAC today. It was, I think, 4 of the games in NAL last night.
I'm going to say yes.
Nook is around a 90% ban rate across all of the 3 regions that I've just listed.
I'm going to go for him. We're going to see Nook ban. Possibly.
Well, don't.
99% sure.
Doing it, yeah, okay. Don't get yourself locked in too much. Obviously, we had, you and I, a trip round club not too long ago. We found ourselves sort of seeing how the game came together, and the team without changes were the ones that drove themselves into that position. Here, it's 2 teams that have been able to build themselves a little bit of a bastion. We had Reject close to getting to the major. There we get a Nook. And we had Sandbox performing okay, but generally, this region didn't do too great.
No, there's a lot to improve on. Hello, Window.
Hi, Window.
How you doing?
Everyone say hi, Window.
He's waving to you all back at home.
Everybody watching.
Wave back at your monitor, you might see it. Defense bands coming in. Mira, the first to be removed. We also have the Hibana earlier on. The Thatcher will be open, so Arcade could just as well be left open. Not really going to be a big problem, but sometimes you still see teams remove it either way. It's not going to be the case this time. Azami gone off the board. Of course, known for the keeper barriers. A lot of them in pocket. Can use them to turn any side into a maze.
Azami's 100% banned today.
Yeah.
I'm just quickly trying to run through my brain notes. Nook, she's allowed and she's instantly picked. Is that the full G2 cards for Reject?
It is. Reject fans of G2.
Okay, cool. G2, if you're watching, you know what team wants to meet. You know what team is a big fan of your work.
We might just go for like a different team every game as well. Who knows?
Fair enough. All right. Let's see, 2 things. One, the difference of Nook potentially in the hands of Take. It's an operator who, the reason they're so prevalently banned is, well, A, grenades. Those are a very limited resource, especially now that they're out of the pockets of Finker. B, they play against a lot of the expectation. C, a good gun altogether leads towards D, an entry. An entry role that's sort of found itself with the recoil changes in a bit of a tricky situation. You're going to have a great gunner on that position, and not even this time round, actually. Yeah, Zofia popped out, which, to be fair, also, with the M762, it's found themselves back in that role, that position. Nash gone as well. It's that sort of limitation.
Means we finally get to see the M762 exotic skin that came out like with the first battle pass with those kind of things.
We've seen it. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's something that is actually a Titan skin here as well. But the thing I'm more interested in is can he on that fuse is going to be able to send some cluster charges down range, make sure that it's going to be more difficult for these defenders to play around the hatches and try and use those impact grenades on them in the hands of Good Boy, of course. And we'll have the Monty in the meantime just clearing out that top floor slowly but steadily.
That's it. They've gone to try and isolate anyone that might be moving around, and the top of that set of stairs, there's a bit of pressure coming through onto Good Boy. He wants to lean straight back into it. If we're going to talk about players playing an aggressive role and wanting to get the entry, there's definitely a young gun name that's going to be one that tries to show themselves up as a tour de force. Good Boy has the support, so nobody can just charge up the bottom of the red stairs towards those players that are set up, sitting pretty on the top. How much attention can they pull? Well, there's only so much you can sort of get yourself set in. The pre-fire comes through. They get the connection on the neck. Shile's able to find one. They're looking for the swing onto the Monty. Good Boy gets the support structure from underneath. Take is removed. Salty is suddenly very isolated. The pressure's going to have to come through onto the side, hopefully draw some attention away, but this clear on the top has fallen, and now the top can fall back. Window finds a fight on the core, doesn't quite get the second. Envy Taylor is also making his way down. Now it's the two remaining players. Candy just misses the tail end, pre-fires, but doesn't get the luck. Otherwise gifted them in a position separated on the far side. Monty.
He's going to be able to find one before being taken out by Sean, and leaves it only up to Candy now, who gets swung on by the Frost, but will be able to land that gunfight first. It's the second. 1v1, a minute left on the clock, and 5 extra seconds. Good Boy comes around the corner though with the MX4 Storm, and will lock it off for Sandbox, as a 3v1 almost went south there.
I think that was it, and it was sort of the call. As soon as they started to lose the bodies elsewhere, as we said, and saw the pressure started to come through down into the site itself, they realized, well, we cannot try and retake this territory. We know the players are going to be wanting to filter their way back towards the site. Sure, the game itself is a 3 versus 5, but it means it's a 3 versus 3 towards the site itself. It drew some firefights slightly out of position. They lost 1 or 2, and they almost pulled it back, though, based on the response of things going on elsewhere. They didn't sort of sit around and wait to see the result. They tried to form their own. We head over Gym Bedroom as the swing round. Sandbox, they hold on to 1 round. Can they try and stretch it to 2?
They definitely want to do so. Also, a lot of suppressors, actually, that last round. I don't know if you noticed, but like half the gunfights that took place was
very quiet.
Almost silent, like non-existent. It's like people just dying. Like little tufts of sound coming through. Exactly that.
That's the sound of a suppressor.
That is the sound of a suppressor.
Can you do the sound of a suppressor?
That was it.
Wow.
Heard it? Super silent.
Okay, now can you do the sound of a muzzle brake?
I've no clue. The Penspur gun.
Bang. Okay, bang. Reject. They had a bit of a good lead, and now we do actually get a taste of Nook. Take might be able to find a victim here on that lead, and as I said before, they have all the options that a good entry kind of wants.
It's open.
Yeah, that's popped open. Club does become a little bit of a risk of where the entry is. They have an angle, and that can force the players out, but there is still a route in a rotation round if they want to take it. It's risky. But Sandbox can be a risky team. Hey.
Just a shotgun. Yeah.
Yeah, Static. He popped a lot of pellets into the player there.
He's just trying to place a breaching charge and find some pellets going his way. Taking a lot of damage now. Impact onto the CC window. Good Boy's aware someone's watching out on that roof. Need to continue on though. They cannot just stall out for Good Boy trying to take him out. So the opening on the jacuzzi wall will be there. They hope to put pressure onto Sandbox from multiple different angles that way. They're really being patient right here, not overextending their stays. Also, no real pressure truly coming upon them here, as they just have the freedom to swing every now and then.
Window just got into that position a second too late to miss the take onto Good Boy. Good Boy still sort of playing around the angle. He's got the catch on any grenades. It's the pressure that Reject need to apply towards the site to maybe draw his swing, and then they can go behind the drop of the body. But they're not confident yet. That's the big sort of risk right now. Reject haven't been able to find truly a proper sight on anyone, something that they can act behind. The knowledge that they came off the body losses with the previous round gave them a drive towards the site that they could push. Here they don't even have that. This grenade, well, it might just get it. No, a little bit too premature to get the proper pop onto Envy. He's still in a very dangerous position. Tadaniki's just going to drive in, cannot win the fight out. Arakaze gets 1, looks for the second, gets dropped in response. Candy gets a very important revenge, but there's Envy Taylor, swung around from the door. This should get caught. No, doesn't. Take is able to instantly remove Good Boy as the quick response. The disc wasn't quite close enough, and suddenly a couple of Sandbox players have fallen. There's one more. Window with the watch down underneath, looking for the hatch drop there, trying to find the catch on the loose player, not a grenade to pop up. Envy Taylor knows he's got to give it a little bit of width, but do they know the slow creep of the Nook on the far side?
It's going to be the big question here. Drones are coming through. We'll be finding some information that will be fed now through on the location of Envy Taylor. Window looking to go up these main stairs, misses the shot. Static somehow lives a second time around before he does get injured. It's now a 1v3 situation. Envy Taylor in the gym needs to try and clutch this out. He doesn't find either. Take is going to be able to shut down both, and Reject will put a round on the board.
Yeah, the Nook got themselves into that position, took the grenade kill onto the window. It was, as I said, Reject. For a long time, they were fishing, trying to find a thread, trying to find that first step, that first route. It came on the back of a drive. They knew they couldn't get the cemented kill with the grenades, so threw the man in. Lost that first engagement, won out on the second. The trade was very important at that point, and then behind the back of that, it drew some focus and just shook the tree enough for the apples to fall. One apiece, and they're not going to try and double it back. They're going to head over to CC instead.
That first grenade, by the way, I'm just going to say it, would have killed the Frost player if it was last patch. Like, landed right above his head, but a bit too far away to get that kill through. So that's just a small, you know, example of the difference that we do have in grenades. We said before as well, some vertical grenades today that didn't outright kill someone. It's like that would have happened in the old patch. They, of course, do have a smaller range nowadays. You need to be a bit more precise with your grenades if you want to be taking out players with them, or utility for that matter. So, as we continue, there's going to be some anchor holes to be created onto the stage wall, just to make sure that anybody in stage or in stock is about to be shut down from the other side. Kate and Bandit, by the way, a lot of electrification on the board.
Gotta stop him. Ain't no way you're getting in here.
Well,
They'll probably still get in.
EMPs on
Yeah.
Thatcher is open a lot now. We also have the Maverick, so it should be easy ways through. And that means two operators and their gadgets, well, they slow them down a little bit, but shouldn't be too much of a problem for Eject here.
All right, Monty, what is your A rate through here? It seems like they have a bit of caution paid towards the windows on the far side, and we saw the approach before that it was slow and steady. There's the break on the wall underneath. They know that they probably won't get that off in time before this pops. Does it make it? It does. Just.
Detonates quicker nowadays as well, so the heart breach charge did receive a little bit of a buff where it takes about like half a second less to detonate it, so that's just the difference there compared to that electric claw being redeployed.
And now that they've got that angle, it forces out any potential player that might have been underneath. So Salty can do this, find himself with only really a single angle to play against. Erikaze is tucked in on the top, has an ADS for a little bit of support and structure. Good boy. Gets a bit of a blow as the wall itself, the main CC wall, is being popped open by the Maverick. They're making sure here that they're doing all the steps they need to. The canister just buys them a bit of an escape route. They can pop themselves further away, but now that that's open, you're going to suffer a lot of pressure here onto that player on the top of the catwalk.
Waiting for that breach, needing everybody to be ready to reply and act upon this piece of pressure that's about to come down. There you have it. Instantly, Tedaniki tried to run through, but got stuck somehow.
Yeah,
well aware.
Just the bottom. That was a big risk. They really wanted to go for something blinding there, but with Salty still drawing the attention of Erikaze. Shile's been able to step up just under the side of Lobby. They're looking towards the door. The pressure's coming either side, but without being able to remove the man, there's not so much you can do. There's the call on the player underneath. He's got to drop the shield, see if he can draw the fight. Loses out, and they lose the fight on the door as well, but back and forth, Erikaze being the one man standing can keep that pressure going. The smoke canister, that C4 will just get caught on the lip of the door itself. Still locked outside the 4 versus 3.
So 2 Claymores outside there, so really wouldn't be able to go for a run out after he would win this round potentially. Kenny wants to get an EMP in just so they can start opening up a bit more, possibly around that wall, around the construction wall. Erikaze is going to be able to go for the gunfight there, misses out, but the trade instantly comes through.
There it is. Good boy finds Candy. They've got that locked down. They make sure they keep Garage. Windows tucked underneath, but it's quickly responded to by Good Boy, who's been such a big pressure point, and Vitela with the final point on the site itself, and they just sort of kept Rejects questioning how to get into Garage. There was always another problem. Maybe if that breach had been one that had been successful, they'd been able to drive behind it on CC, they might have been able to get a little bit more of a surprise strike.
Yeah.
But sometimes all the pieces don't quite line up.
I mean, they had the opening there, they had the Monty on the top of catwalk. The Monty unshielding and going for an ADS there. Big mistake. You really needed to get your teammate to be able to take that gunfight as soon as you do unshield. It's more of a distraction move than it is actually to take the fight, of course. But what we kind of did see is like no use of grenades. And yes, there was a single ADS there, but you did have those EMPs. Could have used that EMP to get rid of the ADS temporarily. So throw a grenade right after it. And the Monty can just start pushing up right on the back of that. So I mean, maybe a little bit of a lack of coordination coming through from Reject there.
Well, you say lack of coordination. I think it was the reason they dropped the shield was so they could both take a 1 versus 1 fight. So they had the one player, good boy, underneath that was swung on the door, and they had the one player on the balcony. If the Monty hadn't have dropped, it would have been a 2 versus 1 on the fight on the door. That's why the Monty dropped it. I'm not saying it was a good call.
No.
But it was definitely coordinated.
Yes, but they were like, Monty was on that catwalk for like 2 minutes, having a bit of a stare down with the Kate. It's like you could have gotten people in position to get a piece of utility down there to get rid of the player on the catwalk and suddenly open up a lot of space for yourself. That's kind of what I'm getting at here, is that they had the Monty down there, they had the right ID, they just weren't able to execute it properly, unfortunately. So who knows, we might get to see an improvement on that. Breaching charge, again to be put down, this time no shotgun to follow up. He's going to be keeping his HP, of course on a different wall as well, as the last time was on a hatch. But we'll be dealing with that one this time.
Okay, reject. Well, you're going to see if you can try and pull a player apart here. There was, obviously, as I said, a good read as to where you can try and drive the pressure before. They went pretty heavy on the top floor, lost it, and then moved off elsewhere here. Similar sort of approach, but there's nobody to be found. Sandbox know they don't want to sort of risk this loose play. They've realized if you don't give reject anything, then you sort of find themselves stewing. They try and force a play, and at that point you can potentially punish them. It's a bit of a risk. They're very good with their guns, but it's a risk Sandbox want to take because they're also pretty good. Here, MV Taylor playing underneath, waiting for the breach on the hatch. Potential has the impact, has the only chance of stopping this entirely being locked through. And you look at what they've got. No specific hard breach outside of the 4-pocket can openers.
Also an ace, of course, but only able to open up a single hatch with those
right over him.
It's okay, it happens from time to time. I think ace could be capped for the triple wall potentially, or for a different opening they want to go for. Use those hard breach gadgets to get rid of those hatches. You have actually the dirt tunnel to be opened up with the cell. One cell just.
Dirt tunnel is going to be Static's battleground. He's got the shield, got everything that Smoke needs, and can pull himself a little bit further back, but Window might be the one that forces that a bit earlier here. Salty as well, putting the pressure onto Blue, playing around a Banshee. There is the catch as well. The ADS, if anything, tries to get long-armed all the way down to Good Boy. They've shepherded the Sandbox players. Static's position is going to become one of big pressure if somebody does try and force their way down, because at some point they're going to be needed to offer some support elsewhere. There's the pop of the Selmas either side. There's the impact. There's Arakaze. Takes out Window. MV Taylor gets Candy as well. They just tried to throw themselves through the main door. It's a fight now onto Blue. There's the single player up top, and then the other two trying to drive themselves through, get a bit of revenge here. They're sort of held at bay, as I said before. The Smokes had to rotate. Now there's the single player onto the side of Pipes. But now it's only just the Monty left. They were dropped either side, either way. 10 seconds, no kit, a pistol, a shield, and a dream. But turns out it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. I think it's fair to call this 3-1 Sandbox.
Sandbox not even going over aggressive there in a 1v5 against the Monty. He's like, oh, let time just run out. Not a real issue there. Wanted to quickly go back towards the moment where we saw the Selmas to be used on the hatch. Now, normally you place them down in that way if it is electrified, because you can still open it up in that way, but it is very, very vulnerable. A single impact to come through on the floor, maybe even a single bullet, is just going to be destroying that, of course. So, you know, impacts right below still. They thought they had the opportunity to go for it as a rush came down from the main stairs, but as that player got shot down, well, you go back to your job of just taking down those Selmas. So, a tactical timeout needed for Reject, as they've only been able to get one round so far against Sandbox. And to be fair, that one round they won, that looked okay, but the rest, Sandbox has truly been in control.
The hair clip's a really good idea.
It is very smart.
Do you know I've worked out why I didn't read Ace?
Why didn't you read Ace?
Because the way I'm sat,
oh, it's like
you see my hair here?
Yeah, I understand.
Literally falls perfectly over
the portrait.
The fourth player. And maybe I need a new sitting position.
Or hair clips.
Or hair clips. The hair clips are a very good idea. Thank you, Take. I will adapt. I will overcome. Have they adapted? Can they overcome? I don't know. It's down to their timeout. They've taken it. They've had the conversation. They have 2 more chances here because they are on their attack onto Club. It's not the most uncommon now to have, obviously, attackers with the 4-2 advantage. If they can pull a 3-3, it's still all anyone's guess. I mean, you never know. You've always got statistical anomalies, but we've got to look back to what Reject did really well, and their surprise attacks was sometimes some of the best, especially I think it was maybe Skyscraper these two teams met at that I remember. I could be wrong about that.
I will find it in a moment. But the thing is as well, if you look at the bans, Thatcher is open. Of course, Thatcher will be open quite a bit, so that doesn't necessarily say anything.
We've got new pocket.
If you do have Thatcher open, any wall should be able to be opened up in about 30 seconds on this map specifically. And that's generally a very big advantage for attacking teams. And the fact that Reject hasn't been able to capitalize off it. Last time was Bank, actually. That's stage 2. And then in stage 1, DC also played, and it was Cafe. That was a 1-7 victory for Sandbox. And a 7-5 on Bank before. So far, Sandbox has been able to win it consistently against Reject. And continue to hopefully do so. For themselves, of course. Oh, he's going to be using the second impact here to get rid of the field to do it.
Yeah, didn't quite get the catch properly. It was a little bit quick, that breach. We remember last time it wasn't a rotation. It was just an angle through, and it allowed Good Boy to play that position quite aggressively. Didn't work out for him in the long term. Suffered as the pressure otherwise came through there, but here, Reject, it seems like they're paying a little bit more attention towards the close push elsewhere. This breach, will it come so directly round? They know they've got to time this well. Arakaze is just on the other side. The claw, the second one gets thrown. A little bit premature there.
Still time.
Still have time?
No. Second impact, A and B coming through. That is just a trick as old as time. Is you toss in one, you start placing, you toss in the second right after that. So there's not a single opportunity for Arcade to come through. Only Bandit could persevere in that moment in time, but especially on Jacuzzi, it's difficult to go for a Bandit trick with that window open because all it takes is just one person that dares to peek and swing that window to take out that Bandit, and you lose a player and the wall in that moment. Well, that's a good drone.
I mean, they've got his number. This is the thing about his position. Last time he was caught out on the window, but he held it for such a long time. It forced Reject to have to go for a different alternate take. Here, Take is going to be the one that might try and get the aggression. This will all be pinged. He's just going to pull himself around and see if he can catch the loose player. But he is not fully gone, and this is what he's waiting for. He wants him to rehold it. In the meantime, Arakaze finds Salty outside the breach. They got this opening kill last time round as well. They sort of forced the fight. It was the Selmas being thrown. You assume he got dropped as he was doing the animation. Arakaze gets his second. Tadaniki goes as he's throwing a smoke. Arakaze gets his third. Candy wasn't throwing any utility, but it doesn't matter. Arakaze can kill him all the same.
And I have to say here, the suppressor did help him. You might wonder why, but no traces come through the smoke either if you're using that suppressor. So you can't see him, and you don't even know where he's shooting from. You know he's in that smoke, but that's going to be about it. So that suppressor does give him at least a better fighting opportunity when you're in that smoke, because the enemy, no clue where they need to return fire to. Well done by him. 3 kills, leaving it only up to Window and Take now to see if they can salvage this round. Still go Reject's way. It's looking quite dire though, especially with Good Boy finding the kill to Window. It's going to be only up to Take now on the highway, looking to see if he can find a way in from either of these windows, but aware of the fact that someone is in CC.
There's no straight route through here. As soon as he takes a hop, he'll be revealed regardless of where he's going. He was hoping to get a free one out the door, and he does. Will he get another? Probably not. They are just holding themselves in. They're not going to throw away the advantage. Sandbox, they're happy to sit. That's a team tested as old as time. No angst. Just chill.
Just chilling for now, indeed. They don't need to go aggressive, and that is something we see a lot of teams do in these situations. I mean, we can only go back to a certain Chalet game in the European League we had before, where M&M decided to just swing on every single given occasion, except for the last 2, and then 1v5 ace clutch happened against them. So that is something you want to prevent at any given time, and Sandbox so far, every time they have been in a man advantage, or even 2, they decided to stay put. Just play patiently. Time is about to run out. They need to make the move, not us. And it worked out wonders for them. Haven't been able to give too many frags away to the side of Reject. Just enough to keep them occupied, but not enough to give a fighting chance. So, 4-1, current score. Sandbox have already won this half and now are looking to put an extra nail into that coffin by finding a 5th. And again, I'm going to say it. Usually when Thatcher will be open on Clubhouse, we would say it is going to be an attacker-sided map because walls would just open up quicker. Especially CCTV. That's a site we barely see being held successfully by the defense. And yeah, Sandbox has been able to do it so far. And yes, Siege is a game of two sides. They will still need to go to the attack themselves, Sandbox. And who knows, maybe Reject is going to be able to surprise us all and bring it back. Get 6 or 5 consecutive rounds to find a win. But until we see that, so far, Sandbox seems to be comfortably in the lead right here.
So a tech problem
Yeah,
Called-
small tech issue.
by Reject.
It's probably just Prediction that is currently having a talk with Demo.
Oh, yeah. What did you say about the French? Nothing.
He doesn't know, but, you know, when Wolves came around and picked up the French roster, Dario was like, I normally don't like Wolves, but I guess I have to now. And Bertrand, our studio manager, was like, what do you see about Wolves?
Big fan.
But that's EU. That's not APAC. No French players here.
No. They said I didn't think so.
I know Max speaks French, but he's also not in this game, so
Yeah, that's true. Fun facts.
just small facts. Fun
Small
here.
facts.
Yeah.
We'll be back in.
Soon.
Hopefully very shortly. 4-2-1. Sandbox in good spirits, I think. Reject as well. Obviously, since the change, since the removal of playoffs, since only 2 spots, only 2 places, 2 precious, pretty places, are all you can get to get you through onto the major stage. Reject were close in that their opening selection of games at the last split were good. They opened real hot, real powerful. And then it started to fall apart towards the end when they had a couple of tough games. They couldn't quite edge out those results. The difference for Reject not making the major were games like this. Games where they could not quite beat those other teams that are fighting for the major. Because you can beat, 5 other teams, 4 other teams. But if you cannot win those important game day games, that's the difference. And here, it does spell a similar story, unfortunately, for Reject, is they can go up against Fab, they can go up against Talon, they can go up against a lot of these other sort of teams, but the Sandbox game, the Damwon Kia game, maybe even the Cyclops game, these are the ones that are the high-pressure ones for Reject.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, no matter how far back you go, if we go to, like, the start of APAC North, we had Sandbox back then under a different organization, and Cyclops to be in charge of the league.
What's Envy Taylor showing on his camera? He's showing good boy. Nice, thanks, man.
Having some fun right there.
Having some fun.
Showing Shao now as well.
He's giving us a tour.
He's giving us a tour, yeah.
Thanks, Envy. He's giving us an idea of what it's like in the room. Let's get Envy.
Not that we couldn't see.
They have a
without
lot of
PVC.
bottles of water in the corner.
Good.
You can see on Shiles.
Need to stay hydrated.
Everyone stay hydrated.
Exactly.
Make sure you stay hydrated. On the side,
This is a hydration check, by the way. If you haven't drunk
Hydration
yet,
check.
you do that now.
on the side of Reject, we don't see as much bottles of water. We do see some great merchandise from Siege, and 2 plushies.
Yeah.
Window has one. Tadaniki has one. The window one is slightly more terrifying, I think. I don't know if it's a character
I was going
or
to say,
if
who has
it's...
another one? Because the Tadaniki one is right in your face. Windows is just
Windows is like... It's like if Windows... If I look away and look back and that plushie's gone...
Yeah, that you wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
scared.
But I'd be scared. I'd be scared. Because then the camera would come back to us and it would be behind us.
Yeah.
It's that sort of plushie energy.
No, I see what you mean.
No plushies in the Sandbox places. We don't have any in our set either.
Can we see the masks on the background?
We need plushies of us.
EUL talent plushies?
EUL talent plushies.
Or APAC North is in this case as well.
And a
EMEA crew talent plushies. There we go.
Imagine being able to cuddle with a little soft Milosh when you go to bed.
At the same time, you also have Dez, which is...
Well, the Des one wouldn't be as popular, would it? Let's be honest. I think Tim would be a top seller.
Could be, yeah.
Top Tim.
Top Tim seller.
Fresh probably would make his own. The thing about Fresh is it'd
Fresh
have
is
to
like
come
multiple editions.
Yeah,
like
Fresh.
Hair, purple
yeah,
hair.
Fresh would be like Barbie or like Ken. You'd need the different outfits. You need to be able to swap in and swap out.
It's like you
The
could put on
bits for a
wigs as
Fresh doll. Yeah, it wouldn't work too much in Plush.
Is Fresh growing a mullet, by the way, in the meantime?
It's a strong look. It's a look that's coming back in, the mullet.
Yeah. I was just debating it. Like I heard him talk about it before, and I was like, yeah, this could be the start of one.
Imagine Parker with a mullet. There you go. You imagined it.
I did, yeah.
If anyone is listening and can Photoshop,
oh, please do.
Parker and Taro with a mullet.
Taro bang.
And maybe like a mustache. No beard, just a mustache.
The one that Easy usually carries when he shaves off his beard and then leaves his mustache. That kind of mustache.
Easy could also be a mullet person, but those two for me are very interchangeable people. We'll hopefully be back in soon.
Yeah.
Just a player struggling to get back into the lobby.
Happens sometimes.
It happens from time to time to time.
Any more analysis we can do on the back rooms here?
I think we've done enough, just in general. This is why
Okay,
Taylor started giving us a
end
tour.
of the show. Goodbye.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of stuff in the way of their washing machine on Shile's corner. That's difficult. That's a challenge when you're doing your washing.
I mean, it's all nicely packed in a box, so they can just get the boxes aside. And then
But you do
washing
wonder,
machine.
is that rubbish? Which one of... Is it whoever bottom frags on the game is the one that has to take the bins
needs
out?
to take it out?
You got to take the bins out. That's how we do it in the EMEA office.
Or if a bottom frags needs to take it out.
Yeah, which is hard to do when you're on a broadcast commentating.
Yeah, I was going to say. Who's bottom fragging in that
It's
case?
just whoever says not it last. Not it.
Right.
Oh, you got to take it.
Well, I mean, the rest didn't say it.
You never know.
Didn't hear Demo as he walked out. So.
That's true. Demo was in the room a moment ago. I'm really sorry, everybody. We'll be back in the game as soon as possible. Let's talk about it a little bit just to remind everyone what happened. It was a 4-1. Windows pouring a drink. Whoa.
Oh. This is his signature, isn't it?
Oh. Almost messed up. He was good in the end.
Look into the camera.
He stuck the landing.
Yeah.
41 up on their defense here on Clubhouse. It's been... Well, it started... It's the surprising thing. It started probably a little bit more back and forth. I think since that sort of the last couple of rounds, including the tack timeout, is where we've seen Reject struggle a little bit more. They've not quite been able to have the same idea of let's get through onto site. Let's try and get ourselves putting pressure on that they kind of need. It's allowed players, and most importantly, the build of Sandbox, which we know is a heavy set up and play team. They can be malleable, they can be fluid, but they are at their best when they have holds that they're allowed to operate in. You'll have, Envy Taylor play power positions. You'll have Static and Shael locked in as well. Then you've got, to varying degrees, Arakazu and Good Boy being a little bit more exploratory and being a little bit more adrift. But even then, they'll still keep themselves. The heat map is, 15%, 20% of the map itself rather than the full-flung thing. And that's the problem right now. For my money, if what Rejects takes are doing is the first 2 rounds, they paid attention to that, and the third. And then since then, seemingly, it's just been a little bit lost.
Yeah, no, for me, Sandbox has been in proper control. It's just like some slight mistakes that led to the round that Reject won, as they capitalized of those well. But, I mean, I'm going to say it again. Sandbox is one of those 3 teams we would consider to be the top team of APAC North. Of course, Demon Kia, one of them. Cyclops, the other one. I do see fist bumps being handed out, though. And that usually means good stuff. So I think, if everything has gone right, we are getting back into the game. I mean, Envy Taylor was just sleeping a second ago, and he's up right now looking into his monitor, so I assume that we are ready to go. There we have it. The game. It's up and running. And CC and Cash is going to be the last site Sandbox will go to for this half at least. If we do go to overtime, we might see them go back there to defend. But the last time we were here, we did see some struggles on the side of Reject. They brought a Monty, having the idea, okay, that's an easy way to get rid of the player on the rafters. Just proved to be a bit more difficult than that. Weren't quite able to get rid of the player out there. And especially with the adaptation that Sandbox has made, you might have seen it already, it's Chunko with the DP28.
he's going to be able to send fire down range and just burn that Monty alive as it's out there. So let's get it with the Goyo as well. Look at that. They're completely leaning into that Monty right now, not wanting to deal with it. But the re-pick's come through.
Yeah, he's gone.
And that changes everything.
Swap to the operator that I can now see because I've tucked my hair behind my ear. And we'll now get the taste of the ace. They've pulled off the role of Monty. They're not going to go for that fight because they realized just how much was put up against it. As you were saying, there was the Goyo, there was those players. There was also the Chanka as well in the hands of Static. They can try and bounce those off from the safety of the backline of CC. They were hoping Reject would do, well, what they might still do. Try and plant themselves behind the CC case and just put themselves in a power position. There wasn't really too much of an extension towards the gym and bedroom side last time, which allowed Sandbox a lot of power to play on that back line of Cash. This is what I talked about as well before. You'll often see Sandbox like to get themselves set up, like to give themselves that space, and then Good Boy and sometimes Arakazi will play that extension. This time, the break over the top. Arakazi's got himself in this isolated play or die position, has the support of where Good Boy was before. Good Boy himself on the other side of the map, but fair enough, because this time we are actually getting a taste of gym bedroom.
Potential missed drones coming through. I mean, they did drone out. Well, that is going to be a spot out. Winner will be able to find MV Taylor, and instantly you see the fallback from Good Boy. Doesn't want to stick around there, needs that back to the side. They're a man down. Let them try and hunt him. As a result of it, you see some magnets being taken out, some rep pings that they're still chasing down, but smart choice of putting down the claymores and just try and continue on your way towards the actual site itself.
All right, they've lost that opening body. MV Taylor taken off the board. He was playing a little bit aggressive inside. Construction was the last we saw, and we didn't quite get the confrontation, but you will see that that big breach is very likely his end marker here. They very quickly moved into that space, and this is the thing I was talking about before with Reject. They weren't quite being that possessive, that aggressive that you need to be. The drive-through onto this, the connector wall onto the site. There is the player underneath as well to make sure nobody is tricking the hatch out. There was. Yeah, 2 gone from that. There's the catch. They'll get an angle. It's a crawl hole, but only that. Shile goes down. Good Boy gets salty in the meantime with this take back onto the site itself. They still have control on the far side. Good Boy gets burnt by his own team. Goes for the hop through and cannot find the fight. It was well watched and locked. Gandy with a second there. Static, he's holding on. There's a big separation for Arakazi there.
There's only a single door that can really get in from as Arakazi gets taken out. The window is now to be utilized by Candy. Static, he needs to be aware of 3 different angles. The balcony, inside a cache already as a grenade is about to pop. And then right behind the server chassis, Candy will take him out in the end. It's Reject that will find a second round nonetheless.
4-2. Reject at least get a little bit more of a buffer and a breathing zone, and they take one of those very important rounds, which is the one just before the turn of the half. You can utilize a little bit of that and go, okay, there's our breath. Now let's take a deeper one. Let's see if we can try and put some pressure here on what is our first preference on our defense, Church and Arsenal. All the way down in the basement. They've got what seems like it's going to be a bit of a tall hold. The Muzzy to control the drones, the castle to control the space. You're seeing some hatches will get popped. You'll sometimes see the mute brought alongside the setup, but not in this case.
I really want to be slowing them down. If you just look at it, you see Castle, you mentioned it, Goyo, yes, Aruni is going to be making sure these doors need at least a piece of utility before you can go through them, and then also the Capcan, that is just going to be putting down traps everywhere. Now, if time runs low in these last couple of seconds and the traps are closing around the site, you might find yourself netting a kill or 2 as they push through. The other route you can go at it is put them at entry points, put them in random doorways in the middle of the map that people really don't expect a Capcan trap to be present, like this. Like, it's a normal door, you probably use it, you don't expect Capcan traps to be there because there is multiple ways around it. You can just go around the bar the other way, not have to worry about it. But sometimes out of pure convenience, that door gets used, and that will blow someone up if they don't pay attention to it.
It's also a very orange room.
Yeah, and it's a drone, a door that you won't drone. It's like, you don't check that door.
No. Okay. The pressure starts on the top.
As I said, it's likely to be a bit of a tall hold, and we do have that. A couple of players tucked. Window, you assume, will get a second of awareness. There it is. Pulls himself back as the breach comes onto the castle. They're not wasting any time. They know what they want to break open, and they're making sure that they're stacking the positions to do it. The sledge and the breach at the same time forces, hopefully, a player into a tricky situation. They're combining the forces, mainly to create a little air of panic in the reject players who suddenly have to work out just exactly what's being popped open. Cannot do single target focus because there's multiple targets, and this is Good Boy trying to open up towards one. Candy, he takes the drop on the hatch. He's not going to sit around. Neither is the Capcan. Leaves just Window alone, and he's going to hide himself in logistics and hope.
Those default hiding spots, you are obliged. Yeah, the lag just turned 2D and stuck out to the side. Might be more difficult to actually spot, but as a attacker, you are obliged to drone that room as Window comes through, finds one, but it's going to be out of ammo and instantly shut down by shot from outside. Brings it back to a 4-on-4. Good Boy lost, unfortunately for Sandbox, but it did manage to get that one roamer off the board.
Yeah, went for the fight, whether they knew exactly where he was or not. It was good timing on the side of Window to try and lean back in, sort of meet him with the fire. Got one before he got out, because if he had just sat there, likely he would have got none. Here, a minute left, roughly. They're going to start their approach down towards the site. There's the pre-placed C4. There's the chance of being able to impact anything that might get placed onto the hatches. There's a lot that they can try and get through those hatches with. And there's also the ones that are already open. So it saves the use and the cost and the sort of trust in the remaining breach across both MV Taylor's pockets and Static.
The door still has Capcan traps on it. Multiple people walked past and no one cared about it so far. Now, it might just as well be that this C4 just blows up shell. No, it just somehow stays alive. As the information there from that Mozzie drone purely will have fed that through a bit late on the detonation, unfortunately, but Static will find Candy in a very close corner, and now will open up on the triple wall as well to get with MV Taylor.
That's it, they drove in, Salty gets the end of Shile, and suddenly it's Tataneki finding Static. Arakaze's got to drive through, Salty goes down, MV Taylor from above, they break the bulletproof, put them into a little bit of a soft 2 versus 2, but look at the separation, MV Taylor just able to go fishing, but 10 seconds, they got to try and find Take, the last player. He's going through fire and fury to find himself through. MV Taylor's tucked. He's going to see if he can get the plant off. He has the time. Does he know what side Take's coming from? There it is! Take just arrives and brings the first into their favor.
Oh, I thought he had the time there to actually get that defuse going, but not the case. Well, I got down on the ground, but not enough time to get that gun back up almost at the exact same time. That leaves us in at 4-3. The basement won by reject, but now they need to do it on 2 different sites to make sure they continue that rotation. And look at it flawlessly. Top floor, gym and bedroom to be chosen next. Bar and stage was shortly hovered over, but not decided to go to now.
Attackers need to locate and
As we get going again. Worked out quite well. They were able to hold the progress of Sandbox quite a bit. Even though it did come down quite close in the end. It was that 1v2. Maybe it would have been better to just go for a plant, to just go for the cover rather than go for the chase with one and the other still being upstairs, needing to make their way to the site. But that's hindsight 2020, as they were unable to. What is he shooting at? He's shooting with the MK14 outside.
Are there things on the corner? Usually?
Oh, the hatch.
Ah, okay.
You can't reach that from there? I didn't know that.
I guess so.
Yeah, you can. Okay. Well,
Well,
that's
Tataneki
intriguing.
has an echo drone,
indeed.
so that's where you assume the link-up's going to happen there as to why they've opened that hatch. It also, you know, usually you'll see that's the play, an echo drone that pops up, gets the read on everything. We've seen it played by teams before. It could also be the usage of a C4. They've got 2 options for it, but you're looking at who's got them in the angle you'd need. It's probably not as likely to net results.
Nicodrone's currently also not really near that area of the map, but, you know, you have the opportunity, so you can move out. Oh, that is a good spot. And they know that's going to be opening up, but that's at least one player spotted out.
Yeah, there's the breach on a single side, drops down, and, you know, with the ping, has a bit of the reveal. There's a bit of concern. Paid towards it. It's an echo drone going for an adventure. The School of APAC. teaching the world. But to be fair, actually, I've seen these plays from APAC before. When the Echo drones started to come through and they lost the invisibility, that sort of reveal on teams was, well, let's just play them visible.
And V Taylor is now wondering where he just got spotted from. He got red pinged. He's like, I'm getting spotted somehow. I have no clue what's happening. So he just decided to go off, go to a different spot. And Salty will just find Charl. A beautiful shot onto that angle. Don't have to worry about that sledge anymore. That's 2 grenades out of pocket. 2 left to go in the hands of Good Boy.
Oh, that shotgun can be a sniper. And is in those hands. Able to take care of the repelling player. On the far end, Salty. He's prepped, hoping to get a bit of a break on that. Hoping the gate goes and then he can follow it up. Good Boy. Curious about a fight underneath. There's still the red pings. There's an Echo drone doing everything to make things awkward for the player, sitting there as long as possible. But Good Boy, if he can slip past this focus and he can just find his way up red stairs, a rotate of another player might draw the attention. Good Boy's got himself tucked. He's hoping somebody's wanting to get aggressive on the back of those red pings, but they're not quite offering it. So instead, this will happen. The grenade underneath. Doesn't quite get the full catch. The smoke canister does give Candy the idea to do this, hold the angle, but Good Boy wins it out with a hell of a swing. Arakaze takes care of Tadaniki, and in the blink of an eye, they have lost their hold onto CC side, but 40 seconds. They've got to do a little bit more now.
Need to be very quick if they want to continue here. You see some windows being locked off. It's just Reject preparing themselves for the storm that's about to be coming in, because Sandbox, they don't have much time left. We have one of the players currently in hiding as well, behind that infamous desk again. Salty looking to find himself a good position, but they know that they could be coming from any given direction right now.
Wow, here's Good Boy with the second grenade. Wants to head his way up the top, but you're looking at 15 seconds, and Salty with a C4 takes the wind out of the sails. You just got to take the drop. The fight is scrappy across the board. Salty finds one more. It's all over. And on the side there, it was just no time for Sandbox to build after how long it took them to get the opener.
Windows really enjoying that one, if you haven't noticed. But a lot of information the entire round being fed through by the yokai drones, just going outside the red pings, knowing that 3 people were coming from that side. And yes, you lost that first initial gunfight. You lost 2 players in that progress, but you knew that the majority of the team was coming down from CCTV. So you can put some more guns towards that direction. You do not need to be careful for Jacuzzi or for any of those hatch drops if you know that the majority is in CCTV. So it helps you down the line as well. And I said it last round, they were hovering over bar and stage, but didn't quite want to play it yet. This is the tertiary site for Reject. We are not going to CCTV cache. A site that Sandbox went to twice and won once. It is going to be that bar and stage where Rogue was able to win the major in Berlin. We've been taking some pages out of their books.
I mean, lessons learned.
Yeah.
Why not learn it from the top? But as I said, I know, obviously EU, I know DPAC and the bias. He wasn't the originator of that. No. It had been done in APAC.
It did. Yeah.
You can say he mastered it.
He's definitely known for it now, right? I mean, you saw the signs, DPAC plus drone equals death. That's like the reputation he has.
He's known for it, and he's mastered the game. But it's nothing new towards these teams, which is always that sort of, idea here is, was that really what stumped Sandbox for such a long period of time, where they had such a major turn of force? The take onto the top was good, but it was, I don't know, maybe a minute late.
Opening to be made onto CC1. Of course, not going to be the initial site itself, but top floor control. Really important on bar and stage. And that starts around CC cache. You need to take control of that so you can head towards construction, get that hatch into your grasp. After that, a potential plant on the stage could be useful, could be possible. Very aggressive Jaeger right here, just finding Arakaze, and Good Boy taking a lot of damage down as well. It is just falling apart again for Sandbox here.
That's it. They are entirely swung upon there. There's all this intel, all these eyes and ideas. The Bulletproof is calling these pings that they could move behind before for the previous swing. This grenade will just bounce itself close but get caught out. Candy can pull himself back, expecting the second or potentially a hop in on the back of it. That will at least get rid.
Will they? No, it won't.
No, it doesn't. Just a little bit too far, and the camera's allowed to survive on the back wall.
2 grenades used, no gain from it. And if you look at it, there's no grenades left anymore either. No RC Retiro, but it's Taka and Shaw both will be able to find one. It's at 3 and 4 as we continue. And it will fall back towards that side. They know they have that man advantage. They know there's only 3 attackers left. And as long as Window's up on that top floor together with Salty, they still have a lot of time they can potentially waste here. I wouldn't be surprised if they come down to the last 30 seconds as he finds one. Static will find a trade. Again, we continue with that trading game.
And that's it. And now you've got yourself again, Sandbox. They're at the body disadvantage. They're very spread out. There's still all this sort of time and intel that Reject have been able to work behind and build upon. The players that caught them on the jump out and the drop down. What do Sandbox truly have towards the site itself in terms of control of it? Nothing. And in terms of lockdown, even less. Take is pushed a little bit further back, but the pressure of time still isn't on them. The breach itself has to come through onto the site. They need some of the angles, and you can see they've rotated their way back up to the top, spraying and hoping to catch the loose player. Every Taylor cannot quite make the connection with the head behind the bar. 15 seconds and pre-fires, but it just takes a second to pop up, and a second more. Reject pull ahead.
4-2 to 4-5. Rejects needing a single round more to find themselves at a match point situation 2. They want the 3 points. And there's a tactical timeout to be called now by Sandbox. They realize that it's slipping away from their hands. They're losing grasp of this game. They need to get things back on track. Ever since that rehost, they haven't been able to perform the same way as they did before.
Sandbox. Things have gotten a little bit shaky here. There's been surely...
You see that pillow?
Location.
What? You see that pillow on the back of Static? Sorry, I was just distracted by it. Someone's face on it. Never mind. Go ahead.
What?
There's a pillow on the back of Static's screen. It's like behind his chair, left top. His head was there just now. Someone's face on it.
You're losing it.
I might be. Pretty sure it is. Okay, how do I? Sorry. Continue. You don't see it? Right there.
On Static's chair?
Yeah, no, behind Static's chair. On the left top. There's like a pillow with one eye on it. You don't see it?
I don't...
Okay, I'll show you after the break.
Okay, well, thank you for the relevance.
I was just saying, go ahead, no worries. It just stood out to me. It was funny. Sorry.
I'm just going to let you sit in silence for a second and think about what you've done. Okay, now let's make a relevant point towards Siege. Sandbox, what's happened? Everything's gotten a little bit out of your reach. I sort of commented on your defenses that you like it when things are played to your pace, but I had the expectation that you'd play a little bit more of a pace on the attack. They're missing out on their drive. It seems like Good Boy is the one that's sent hunting, which is fair enough. He's very good at it, but there's nothing that he's specifically sent in for. He's getting himself in these positions to try and strike at the same time as the rest of the setup, but whilst you're setting up, Reject has decided they're sick and tired of waiting and pushing back into you. It's happened time and time and time and time and time again. And that is how Reject play. That's nothing new or too outlandishly surprising. So at this point, their team talk taken, they've got to realize that they need to try and take a little bit of that pace that we criticize Reject for not quite having throughout most of their rounds and drive themselves in towards the pressure.
Why is it 2 people around stock? Is what I'm wondering. It's like they're very aggressive to go for a bit of a run out, just hiding here next to a hatch. Someone's on the drone, protected. Lucy ready to respond whenever it's necessary. I'm wondering what they're trying to get at here. Surely some aggressive pocket play, but...
Yeah, it's 2 on the stock. They've got the hatch to escape. They want to try and burst their way through. It's not the most droned-out location. You'll sort of clear everywhere else and then try and swing your way that way through. They're hoping that it's another Sandbox mistake, and this could be one window. Is he going to get a free pick up here? There's a little bit of a swing. It's Good Boy that he gets into a scrape with, and Good Boy's able to win it out. He is a hell of a gunner we've talked about before. You usually send him in to try and find that loose body, and then he finds somebody. Tadaniki is offering some of this drone support alongside the play. They're ready with control of the hatch above. You can see the Zophia's putting some control on the back end of the stairs, and there's a drone that gets rolled out. Here's the move. There's the call. There's the ping. There's the freebie.
Slowly rotating back towards the side as well, Candy, but Take stays active, doesn't want to leave yet because they know that was one player. Take can now still go on, needs to drop that hatch but gets taken out. Shao suddenly coming through the wall right there. We'll also find the yokai drone. Sandbox coming out on top.
Yeah, we talk about the trust of Intel there. They heard the breach of the hammer at the last possible second. They were hoping the echo at the full read of the players inside, but one slipped by. Now, with those two hatches open, with the pressure they can try and apply itself on the site, they're in the 4 versus 3 and they have plenty of time. Whether it was fully rewarded or not, they've got to try and make the most of it here to try and pull themselves back level before we find ourselves teetering onto map and game point. Good boy with the pressure down on the main stairs, the double door, trying to put some focus down and see the echo hot-foot it out of there. He's not going to stick around and see what happens on the wrong side of this wall because he gets the sinking feeling it's about to be blown up. Well, he finds that elsewhere anyway. Static gets the kill.
Salty opening up a long angle here. Suddenly Motorcycle isn't as safe anymore as it once was. Even though he's not currently using it, he's opened up an angle though into the arsenal as well. That could be used for any of the players down the main stairs, but that's a diffuser drop. Well done by Candy. Suddenly it's a 3-on-2 situation.
Well, Salty suffers on the scrape in the back. Good boy can't quite get the cement of the kill, but he knows the player's gone down. There's just the one behind the shield there, dancing, but you can't quite outdance Good Boy. He's able to find his triple for the round. He was able to get himself in an engagement. It's one more for Sandbox. Whether it was gifted, whether it was expected, either way, it's theirs. They got to see if they can try and pull this game back by the reins.
As soon as it became a 3v1, he also knew he's running out of time because soon that was going to be the main hallway / the arsenal player that was going to swing on him as well. So he needed to go aggressive towards Motorcycle. Unfortunate, not able to lock in the gunfight there. And round 11 will decide who is going to be picking up a point, but also has the opportunity to fight for 3 because only one of these two teams will be able to do that after this round is over. Will it be Sandbox or Reject? We do not know yet. Reject has decided to go back up towards that top floor, towards the gym and bedroom. See if Sandbox can find themselves a more effective approach this time around.
Reject. You were pretty solid before. A little shake, a little bump in the road, but I think one of the things that I've enjoyed about your performance so far is it's so multifaceted. All 5 players have been able to really drive themselves into this. Everybody's had their moments. Okay. Candy and Salty are those names that keep popping up in terms of big swings across both halves, but Take, on the side of the defense, has really come into a little bit of his own. Here, one more chance, one more hold, one more opportunity to try and push this across. It's once again down to Sandbox for my money to be the ones with the pressure, the time, something that they've been missing even in that most recent round, I think.
Yeah, they need to make sure that they keep that time factor well ready and controlled. You don't want that going out of your way, needing to go in quickly, making these scruffy mistakes that will allow Reject to capitalize on it. And yes, you might get away with it more often if you have that man advantage. Is that, by the way, another charge that we just saw shot out on the hatch? Might have been Shao, but opening will be made. Onto the jacuzzi wall. Don't think they'll be able to trick in time. Opening has been made, actually, this time. C4 coming through, somehow dealing no damage to Static, who just repelled out in time.
Playing both Kaid and a Bandit and that wall being opened.
Yeah, but again,
I think they were a bit out of position as well. Thatcher's on the board, Tadaniki. Oh,
you live.
He really tried to risk that one, didn't he?
Not when you take a lot more damage from an extra throwing popping off if you're next to it. So he's lucky to get away with his life right there. But as I said before, if there is going to be a Thatcher open, Bandit or Arcade is not going to be keeping this wall shut because of the highway window. Like, Bandit is not going to be playing out there. Doesn't feel safe enough, and that means you need to go for a Arcade trick. But the double EMP is always going to win from you in that matter.
Candy, he's under a little bit of pressure, but with that wall solid on his side, he can still sort of keep himself locked in. That's the big bit of a problem here. It means Sandbox cannot truly get comfortable out on the hold on the window itself. They can't really set themselves up on the bedroom windows towards highway, towards the other side. It's just not a position to play. The pop's underneath Salty. Don't quite catch him. He wasn't that close to the wall, wasn't ready to swing, but he means now if he does swing, there's the concern of somebody playing underneath. Not currently, but Good Boy actually just slips on by. There's a swing round. Salty finds one. Static finds Take in a quick response onto the door. Pre-fires coming across the board. Can Sandbox move behind it? That's the big question.
We're holding a very tight angle there. Knows a head could be popping up at any given moment, but he needs to move on. He will find a flick somehow. Static will find one as well, and suddenly it's a 4-on-2. One player left inside of the showers is going to be able to drop that diffuser, leaving it only up to MV Taylor suddenly to try and clutch this out against the Jaeger and a Cade. One in construction, one in the bathroom. They will play off contact here as soon as Envy swings. It is Salty that will find a kill, and it's Reject that will find a point and a possibility for 3.
That's it. You said it was up to one player in the bathroom, but you forgot about Candy. Forgot about his power position. I said it at the beginning of the round. Candy and Salty have been the two that keep getting themselves back into these aggressive moments. The double kill round onto the backside. The Sandbox players, they flooded site. They were looking for those engagements. They wanted to try and just clear it, face check everything behind it and go for the trade. But those two loose threads, that little bit of the lack of control on the other side of the map that we talked about before, without getting CC wall open, without the pressure onto construction, it becomes awkward to just entirely flood in. A great take from Good Boy, and then the pressure from Static. Unfortunately, you need even more than that. Reject, they sit on the chance of 3 points.
And there was a simple solution to that. Just put someone in gym holding that door, right? It's like, at least he cannot completely go through without being punished, or at least having to take a different gunfight first. You allow yourself to take that gunfight onto the bathroom. Also, you could have split up there. You could have gone one in from the jacuzzi wall, for example, the other to go in through the side itself. It's that all three through the same room doesn't really work out, as you've just seen there. Especially not if you have someone in your back. So, well done by Reject, needing a single more round to find 3 points. That is a very late reinforcement that could have been a kill for show. Oh, it didn't even come through in the end.
No, he didn't. He pulled away, so he suffered a little bit of a scrape on the other side of that, and
That is a mistake.
well, that wall's going to remain soft.
Well, they don't have reinforcements anymore, so he was probably just told to stop to reinforce something else anyway. I hope.
I mean, maybe. It might have been a little bit of a change of heart at the very end. They've got the wall open very quickly either way. There's Arakaze wants to put the pressure on once again. Hey, you remember this? Well, it was the camera that proved all of the problems before. They've just burnt out the ADSs. The flashes will burn any remaining ones. There's the cover. There's the camera. And that was quick, but a lot of utility behind it.
Just for a single camera, but that camera wreaked some havoc the last time around. It was a lot of information given out, a kill and a swing to come through as well. So them getting rid of it shows how important it must be for their attack, because they want to push through from CC. After that, they are safely in that building. They have some control, and they can start pushing on from there on, not having to worry as much about the information. If you get swung on before you're even inside, it's just very uncomfortable to play against.
C4, it's ready to go for anybody that goes for that breach and that opener. You can see a couple of players are stacked up. Will Tadanaki get the read on them? I assume the camera has got before, but it's Candy that finds Good Boy, the fight across the top. There's a bit of response. The C4 is a little bit premature. Arakaze is in the top of red now, though. And Candy's going to take the drop round on the hatch. Tadanaki does find Xiao from underneath and get him with the C4, but that doesn't mean the trap was closed.
Still had that shotgun, works really well vertically as well in those kind of situations. When you walk through a door, the last thing you're going to be looking at is the floor. Arakaze almost lost his life right there. Winner put one more step to the side. That could have been an easy headshot for the MK-40, but he lives, he continues, takes out 2 drones as well as he digs in deep inside the bedroom.
Yeah, Window, you can see he's ready for the fight, and he finds it, the header one. He's looking for the next, and he does get the connection. Arakaze, a little too late, but a devastating blow there. They looked towards the stairs. They were concerned about somebody else flooding in. The movement was his. And this has been the story of Reject and Sandbox throughout this game, especially on this half. Sandbox have just kept losing control over where these Reject players are and why they're there. Most importantly, Arakaze, a 3 versus 1, but he sees none of it. Reject take a very important 3 points from one of them 6-point games we talk about.
Yeah, Sandbox being one of those teams we talked about before to be favorites for a top 3 finish again. You taking points against them, that is going to be very helpful later on in the season. Maybe even lining yourself up for a top 3 or top 2 position at the end of the stage.
Top 2 is what you need. Top 2 is
That's
what you want to get to that major. And as I said before, what we had on the last split were Reject being able to take that points from most of the board. This time we might see them take it from the ones that they couldn't before. 3 points for them and a massive blow for Sandbox.
A massive blow indeed. But before we break that any further down, we have a quick break before our analysts will close it off.